Nicole Nighthawk, and I'm here for Australian musician. And today I'm with 15-time Grammy Award nominee, the best-selling instrumental rock guitarist of all time with over 10 million albums sold. Welcome, the one and only Joe Satriani.
Wow.
That's where you applaud yourself.
Thank you.
10 million albums sold.
Yeah.
That's an insane number.
It is. I don't think about it.
You should think about it. I mean, 35-year career, it's that's incredible. But look, I want to first of all congratulate you on the success of your new album, Shapeshifting. So this is your 18th studio album. And even that's incredible to me, 18 studio albums. And this was actually the highest charting album of your career so far. So it's debuted at number 8 on the Billboard Top Album charts, number 3 on the Internet Album charts, and number 4 on the rock chart core genre. How does that feel?
Wow, those are some statistics. It feels great. I mean, it's always nice when you know that your audience is getting your music, that people are paying attention. And after all these years, they're still hanging in there and following all my hard left turns, hard right turns stylistically. It just makes you feel good that they're listening out there. You know, famous producers always used to tell me, you can't make people like what you like, and you can't decide for them what they're going to like. So the only thing you can do is just do what you do and just go out there and do it, and then let them decide. So when you get rewarded like that with those great markers, those great chart positions and sales numbers, you know that you've done the right thing, and which is the audience is saying, go ahead, be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And artists have to do that. They have to be left alone to make the right choices and the wrong choices. Sometimes the wrong choices are the fun ones, you know, you never know.
Well, is there a wrong choice? I mean, it's all creative license, isn't it? So it's art. Is there a wrong choice in art?
No, there really isn't. No, I suppose there's the wrong choice in the marketplace. You never know. And very often that's relative to what else is coming out, and you don't know what that is. You know, you can work on a record for 9 months, you know, that uses a certain set of styles or sounds. And then when you get on a release schedule from your label, you have no idea what else is coming out. You don't know if there's going to be a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your album. So yeah, myself along with hundreds of artists had the distinction of releasing albums right in the middle of a tragic pandemic. So, but it reminds all of us that, you know, our job is to make music, and so it doesn't, you know, the waters don't get clouded, you know, because of those external circumstances. Actually, it reminds you that that's your job, and especially in a time like this, just keep making music and you know, let the doctors and the scientists do the hard work, and while we provide the soundtrack for people's relief in life, and so that's our job. It's a serious job, so we got to get to it, keep working.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of water, I will point out that for some reason you're swimming in water, and you are holding a guitar, but it looks like you're just floating in the water.
Oh, now I can see it. Yeah, that does look funny. I don't know why that wound up there. I think that's a picture that my son took of the North Sea, like a couple of tours back, and I don't know how it wound up there, but that's not really my background, is it? No, I'm here in my studio. You know, there should be a name for the look on people's faces when they're doing this, staring not at the camera.
Computeritis.
If you can come up with that name, but I'm doing it right now, whatever it is, I'm making that face.
I was just saying, it started pouring here in Australia, and yeah, you're in the water. It's perfect. So during this time, I mean, it's an unprecedented time, really, in history. And how have you found it? Because a lot of artists have used it as a very creative time and time to collaborate with other people and do a lot more online work. So what have you found in this time?
Yeah, writing. I got it in my head that I wanted to create 2 separate records in the next few months. One would be another instrumental album, and another would be a vocal oriented record, but they would be centered around my live band. And the reason, the unusual nature of that was because the band is so unique, with Kenny Aronoff on drums and Brian Beller on bass guitar, and Australian phenomenal musician Ray Thistlethwayte on keyboards and guitar, who's also a fantastic singer. You guys know him from Thirsty Merc.
I know Ray, yes.
So I discovered him by accident. You know, I was looking for keyboard players, and I was watching the band Knower and Lewis Cole, artist out of LA. And then a couple of days later, when I was on another site reading about different keyboard players around the world, I came across this article on Ray, and I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking, well, I don't think I've ever seen him before, but this guy's amazing. And then at the end of the article, there was one of the clips that I had seen a few days earlier from the live sessions from Lewis Cole. And I was totally blown away, because I thought, wait a minute, that's the same guy who's playing the Gibson and singing rock music, and over here he's got really short hair and he's playing like fusion keyboards. I thought, how could one person have all that talent in him, you know? So anyway, I reached out to him, and we, across the ocean, we shook hands and said, okay, we're going to tour. And then this happened, and so the tour's been put on hold, but the band and I have been texting each other music almost every day. And so we're all on board thinking that remotely we're going to build these records over the next number of months. So that's what we're doing with this time at home. We're trying to be as creative as possible.
Yeah, and is that something that you think would happen without the pandemic? Would you be sort of working on these collaborations in an internet kind of way, rather than, is that something that you would normally do, or is it just come about, like, there's all the Zoom jamming and things like that?
No, I mean, if things had gone along normally, we would have been stuck on a tour bus somewhere in Europe. We would have been, playing 2.5 hours of music every night and licking our wounds in the morning. And, touring is a very interesting thing, because you put out, during the evening, everything that you've got, and you tend to kind of go into like a musician zombie phase in the daytime, where you kind of conserve your energy, and everybody kind of closes up a bit and they get very internal until we meet backstage, and then we got to turn it on. It's just one of those ways that you survive the intensity of traveling and not sleeping for 2-3 months straight. So a lot of the writing then winds up being in a kind of a reflective mode months later. But this is totally different. Everyone's kind of freaking out, and wondering what to do. And at the same time, because we're artists, we're reflecting all of this emotional turmoil into music, and we're just writing. So, I mean, I put it to the guys, let's just all write, and don't worry about the commercial aspect of it, because it's too crazy right now. There's no way anybody knows. I mean, no one ever knows what's going to be a hit or the right thing to do. So we should never think about it that way. But more than ever, I think we should just react, because that's the way everybody else in the world is living day to day. And just, take care of ourselves, our families, our communities, and at the same time do our job, which is to make music. So, yeah.
Look, I feel like the title of your album, Shapeshifting, it's quite apt to the music industry and what you've seen. I mean, you've been in the game for over 35 years, so you've seen the industry shape shift. So what do you feel about the current state of the industry at the moment?
It's it has been a constant thing, dealing with the chaotic music business. When I started playing live in front of people, I was 14 years old, so I started really young. Before I was 18, I'd signed with a local agency when I was playing with a disco band out on Long Island in New York, where I grew up. And that was the complete, crooked, organized crime-infested music scene, the music union, everything. It was just a reminder, but it seemed kind of normal to me growing up in New York that was just part of the scene. And I grew up sort of navigating my way through this crazy music scene where it seemed separate from the styles of music changing, which happen every few years anyway. The business itself went from not so corrupt to very corrupt to not so corrupt to very corrupt. It was just insane. But it led me to educate myself, to start my own record company, to start my own publishing company, to eventually try to take control of those things that really bothered me when I was a young kid. And I had to join in, the machine in order just to get paid, just to be able to play at a club, to be underage and be able to play at a club. We had to pay people off, and it was so crooked. But yet we were all there doing it. We were all playing a part, and we knew that eventually we'd make that connection with the fans. And I can tell you a funny story. So I think I'm 17, maybe just turning 18. I'm in this disco band. We're terrible, by the way, just awful. But I made a weekly salary, so it was a good thing for a young kid to make some money making music. And we're trying to get these gigs around the New York State area in Manhattan. So one evening we're doing what they called a showcase, which was a way that a club owner could get a bunch of bands to play for free, get them on and off in about 30 minutes. Serve a lot of drinks and not to have to pay for the entertainment. So one of these nights there's Tough Darts. I don't know if anybody remembers that from the late 70s. They went on to have a minimal success. There's the disco band I was in, which I'm not even going to say their name because you don't want to know. And there was Blondie and the Bonsai Babies. And I have to, if I could explain to you how teeny this place was, it was Brandy's 2 between, it was on, where was it? York and Second, kind of Upper East Side Manhattan, and teeny little stage, maybe holds 100 people in this whole bar club. No backstage, just sort of like the kitchen by the bathroom kind of thing. And there we are, this disco band, this sort of throwback to the 50s band, and Blondie and the Bonsai Babies, which is Debbie Harry and Chris Stein in their first band before they became Blondie. Huh. It was just so funny how we're all just standing around there backstage talking to each other, trying to trade stories about how are we going to make a living, because it's New York City in the mid 70s, which was a horrible place. Right, I mean, it was really rough in New York City at that time. And but even though we knew that what we were doing was participating in, which surely was illegal for this club owner to not pay us at all and not give us a dressing room, and we had nothing, and it was dangerous. But we realized this is the only way we're going to get ahead, is just get on a stage, play music for people. That's our job, is just to play music. So that sticks with me a lot when I think about all the funny things that happen in your career, because they're going to happen. And I tell this too, when I'm giving clinics, I tell people to get ready for the chaotic, the random, the unexplainable stuff that you're going to be confronted with. And you're just going to have to be able to flow with it. Yeah. Because ultimately, you want to play music for people. That's what it's all about. But sometimes it seems like you're put under such duress to get to it, But in the end, perseverance pays off.
And do you think that, the streaming model, the fact that people are not necessarily bombarded, I mean, the radio still exists, obviously, and the record labels still have a big say in what's played, but the fact that people listen to the streaming services so much and they can pick and choose what they want to hear, do you think part of that can be attributed to the success of your album, for instance, where, people are now just choosing what they like?
It's a great thing. The democracy engine that is the internet, it really allows people to choose what they want. I think that we could spend hours arguing about what was better, the corruption of the music business in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or the internet age. When I got started, I was encouraged by these magazines that were called Option or Sonic Option. And it was a way that frustrated musicians and independent record store owners got together to bypass the monolithic radio station conglomerate and the huge labels and television, and just go straight to other like-minded independent music makers and independent music fans. And that's how I got my record company started. And I think that the internet is probably the ultimate answer for that kind of making, how do I put this into words? Giving a shot to everybody, sort of democratizing the idea that if you make music, you can at least put it out there.
Yeah.
Of course, you join a tidal wave of people.
And that's the problem, rising above the noise.
It's very hard, and there's always someone who can figure out a way to tweak the internet so that you get directed towards them and not towards this other person. So that's really dangerous, and that's discouraging, of course.
But I guess ultimately it does let you connect with people, which is what being a musician is all about. That you can reach more people and connect with them. So I guess it's a positive in that way.
I think so. I think every time I want to argue this with myself,
it's one of those, isn't it?
And I'm just reminded that more good things, if there's like the good and the bad, I wind up with more ticks on the good side,
Yeah, right.
Some of the bad things, I think the compensation is one of the worst things that could ever happen to a musician, because we hardly ever get paid what we should get paid. And the internet really ruined that. I mean, it really did.
It kind of took value away from music by the streaming model that was essentially free. And what's life without music? So I do feel sad for the fact that music has become so devalued in that sense.
Yes, yeah. But if you look back, if you go back and you have a historical view, you go back to 1900 and you go, well, what were musicians doing before they got the idea that they could print modern music and sell it to people who had pianos in their parlors? I mean, it was a big deal. It ruined some musicians and it made superstars of others. So Scott Joplin wound up being a super successful musician, but there were plenty of other live musicians who suddenly lost their livelihood because people used to have to go to where music was, and now they could stay home. It was incredibly disruptive, very modern for the times. Of course, we look back at it and it looks ancient history to us, but it's the same kind of disruption that in our lifetimes we've seen the internet bring.
Absolutely.
It brings fantastic positives into our lives, and it keeps us connected. I mean, we're doing this right now, which is amazing. But then there's always like a couple of losers, unfortunately. But that's life. That is life.
It is. Let's get geeky. Let's talk gear.